Welcome to Custom Home Builder Solutions, also known as CHS, a job costing, full accounting, and profit management software for the professional home builder. In this video, I'm going to talk about an excellent tool that we can find by going to Budgets and Estimates, an excellent tool for looking at your history of various costs. I think the most useful thing about this tool would be that you would use it while you're trying to prepare a new budget and look at averages for that same cost in other jobs, etc. I want to show you that we have a button up here after we do budgets estimates that lists the jobs and their budgets and the way to go to the ECC worksheet. But we have a button up here called Summaries, Averages, and Estimated Profit. We'll come back in another video to talk about the profit, revenues, and cost cash status buttons. But let me go ahead and open this worksheet. This one is by cost code, and it's going to use the information from the estimated cost at completion for all various jobs and give you some averages. You can see that this line here above land purchase is averages, but let's take a look real quick at let's go down. I think I'm going to focus, just because it might be the simplest from what I can tell in this builder's books that let me use this data and change the names, etc. I think it's 2040. Let's look at septic system here for a minute. You can see that I'm scrolling through the cost codes. It shows the cost code. It shows it, of course, as a header that shows the averages, and then it shows the cost code. If you hover over the job code, you'll see the full job code address. We needed space here. Subdivision, floor plan, I'm going to talk about that in a second. The job status. And here's the amount of the original budget for these various jobs, which the current average is 6162. Budget plus CO means if there's been any change orders, it'd be the budget plus CO. So right now there were none, so it'd be the same average. And actual cost average is coming in a lot less, and that's because a couple of these are zero, and so it's not that good of an average, and I mentioned that up here, and I'm going to show you how to search and get the average that you would like to have. And then it has the estimated cost at completion, the current estimated cost at completion for each one of those jobs, and averages that. Please watch other videos about how estimated cost at completion is calculated. You can drill down on these various things. That we had a budget, original budget, etc. Actual cost posted 5330. They're check marked as done, so the estimated cost at completion is actually 5330, and you can see it's check marked as done here. What I'd like to talk about is how this average really isn't very good because it has a couple of zeros in, and it's going to divide by the number of jobs that are here. So let's do a search, and let's just look for that cost code. Notice that you can search for, you can do more than one cost code if you like, but here let's just go to the 2040. Now watch what happens if I just click right here on no selection and start typing. I just typed 204 real fast, and so I didn't have to scroll down, it went to the 2040. So let's do, just for the septic system, we'll do one step at a time. We could do all of it together, but now we just are showing the cost for the septic system, so we don't have all of them. But let's take a look at this, and let's say let's get rid of these zero actual costs because I want a good average. So the way, if you scroll down, there's some tips here about using search fields, and one of them is not equal to, that you need to use an exclamation point equals 0. That just has to do with how web interprets returning things to you in your browser. So in actual costs, I'm going to put not equal to 0 and still leave the septic system as my search. And so now we don't have any zeros here, so our actual cost average came up some. Now we might look at this one, 5,800, and we posted actual costs of 5,100, and we might realize, you know what, maybe all those costs aren't in. So, and it's not marked as done. There's a chance there could be some more costs on this one. So we might decide let's search for only ones where costs are marked as done. In other words, all the costs are posted. So I did costs done, yes, and let's do search. And so now we can kind of see something a little bit better about our actual costs and the average of the actual costs. But notice how one of these is $9,000, which might be a totally different kind of home. By the way, you can search by floor plans. This builder hasn't put very many floor plans in when they set up the job. You type it in when you set up the job. And the use of a similar floor plan number could be good for doing a search to figure out what your averages are, average costs are for one of your costs. But let's take a look at this actual costs, 9,000. These all the rest of them are under 6,000. So let's try that. And if you look down here, you'll see less than is this less than symbol right here. So let's do, instead of actual cost not equal to 0, let's just do less than 6,000 here. I'm going to talk about something else here in a minute. And I'm going to search, because we have ones that are less than $6,000. So what I'd like to show you is that your average now, 5464, makes more sense between these 5 jobs that it's dividing by rather than by all the rest of the jobs. Right? You could also just decide I only want to see jobs that are closed, and that could probably be a best way to get averages and the fastest way to get averages. So let's clear the search field. Let's put this one back to 2040. And let's just say we want to look at closed jobs. So now you'll see all of them are closed. We still may not want that 9,000, and we may only want to see these 4 closed ones. So we could do less than 6,000. We could do it in the budget field too, probably. Yeah, we could do it in the budget field and use that field to search by. Now, we've just got 3 of them. These are pretty close. This might be getting us a pretty good average of what our actual costs are, 55, 55, or something for similar type homes. You might decide to just search for, let me get rid of this, and maybe you'll just search for ones in the same subdivision to get an average for that subdivision that you've attached to the jobs. And there's only one in there. Let me just completely clear my search. And let's clear the search, and let's just look at costs for just that one subdivision for all cost codes. This one will take a little longer to return to us because we're asking for all the costs and all the cost codes. But you can see how various things are going on. In this case, you wouldn't really want to use this average. Let's get down to some more things that aren't lot type things, but cabinets. You can see your average here for all the homes in Pleasant Valley. This is also not a good average because you only have one that has amounts, one that has amounts. So you might be wanting to look at your budget averages or whatever average you might like to look at. But you can see how you can decide to do a search, and then based on whatever search you've done, you can click the button to do your results report and print it out so that you can just have a printout of what you want. And you'll see at the end that there's filters. First of all, we filtered there can't be any jobs with costs that have been moved to historical during a purge, because some costs might be over in the historical table and not in your accounting database, which this is based on. And we selected the subdivision Pleasant Valley. So you can see that you can decide to do all sorts of searches. I want to mention again that if for some reason I wanted more if I wanted rough and only final, I'd hold down the control key and select the other one. If I wanted rough all the way through final, I'd hold down the shift key and do that, and then search. We still have Pleasant Valley selected. And so we're just getting the information for just those three. If I do a results report, you'll see that it's saying cost code 205, 2010, 2015, and CHS Pleasant Valley. I mean, subdivision Pleasant Valley, sorry. I'm so used to saying CHS. Anyway, you can see how powerful that tool might be. I want to show you something before I leave this tool, that right while you're working on a budget, I'll just randomly click something, and hopefully they have a cost code, that 2040 cost code, and I'll let that budget get calculated and come in, and let's go see if they've used 2040 here. They have. So let's click on this in our budget, and you see this button for history for this cost code. And what will open is a window that will let you look at actual job costs posted for all jobs for 2040, items, purchase orders, all kinds of things, where 2040 has been used. It can give you a lot of good information. But if you do this costs sum by job with average of jobs, you'll basically get that same thing right away just for that cost code. You saw me open the full database of these and then search for this cost code. But if you do it straight from the budget, you can just open this and see the actual costs. And that's just the actual costs, I'm sorry, for 2040. So it's showing you all of them and giving you an average of it, and you could do some searching to narrow that down. Here, looking at history, you want to see all of that. You can click this estimated cost of completion for 2040 and essentially see all those numbers over here. And if you do a report, and you could search and then do a report that will give you the averages actually of those. This is a little bit different thing here. It just opens for the 2040 than what we were looking at a minute ago. But you can quickly get to that estimated cost of completion right there and see. You can just drill down to all kinds of things and look at your actual job costs, for all the jobs, and drill down to those while you're working on a budget. But there is that tool that I was talking about that will average your actual costs right there. Let's go back to the budget ECC list and look at this summaries and averages again. Notice that one was for each cost code. We also have one that will do the same thing for cost groups. So instead of being able to see septic system and top and final, etc., you would, for that 2000 group, you probably just see plumbing. And it's the total of all the plumbing. And if you drill down on original budget, then you can see what the original budget is made up of for all the cost codes. This is your budget amount for that entire group. I'm sorry, I looked at the markup. Here's your budget amount for that entire group and how much is in each cost code. But you might be wanting to look at some averages for the entire group for all of plumbing. You probably, in this case, would want to get rid of your zeros. You might want to get rid of, you might want to do search again and just do closed and not equal to 0, just to be sure there. Your actual cost not equal to 0. And so we can go down to the plumbing area again, and we have less of them here, and we have one here that might be skewing us a little bit, 55,000. So I might do my search and say I want budget numbers just under, maybe under 30,000, and you can do less than or equal to 30,000 if you want to do a search. Same type of searching kind of ideas. So now if I go down to plumbing, I could have just narrowed this down to plumbing also, but maybe your averages will make a little more sense with what you've narrowed it down to and what you've selected for figuring out what your average actual costs have been. So there's that one too, and the results report on it will give you a report of that very same thing that you're looking at on the screen. And it'll show you what you searched for. You can see down here I did a budget less than or equal to 30,000, actual costs that are not zero, etc. So you can play with that and start figuring out how you can get some pretty good averages. Back on the budget's ECC list, the other thing that's available is job grand totals. And that might be a good one for you to just take a look at and see. It gives you all the totals, and you can do searching. Like maybe you do just want to look at the ones in Pleasant Valley and search because you're working on the houses in Pleasant Valley. You can see that one is closed and these aren't. This one's heading over by 1,070. This is obviously not heading over and obviously hasn't had hardly any cost to it, but it's a good way to review. And once these jobs are all closed, some of these averages are nice to see. If I clear my search, you can just see that you've been averaging on all the houses, closed or not, over budget by about $10,000. Of course, if you've watched all the other videos and you made sure that you're taking care that your ECC is correct, that people haven't posted things to wrong cost codes, you just review your estimated cost at completion like I've shown on other videos. That information is more useful if you're paying attention to it and making, just checking it. CHS will gather all that estimated cost at completion information and give that to you, but you should review your ECC worksheets to make sure somebody hasn't made an error somewhere somehow. And the other button is actually the same. Whoops, I wanted to go back to the budget's ECC. The other button under here, actual cost by cost code, is actually the same one I clicked when I went over to the budget and I did the history thing. It's showing just the actual costs and actual cost averages for all the jobs showing. Like I said, you would want to narrow down your search to maybe various things that you're looking for. Let's just take a look at that 2040 again. I could have typed over here, but I didn't for Pleasant Valley. Search just the actual costs for the septic system for Pleasant Valley, and you can see the two actual cost totals. You can drill down and see the detail behind those actual costs, the bills that were paid. Just one bill has been paid there. And you can see the vendor, who the vendor was that you paid, and if there were more that totaled up to all that for this particular cost code, you'd see them all listed. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of the tools you can use to help you figure out some averages and total costs or just review, etc. It's a pretty handy, these tools are very handy for somebody who's trying to look at history and figure out, after you've had some jobs going for a while and you have some history here in CHS, these tools can be real handy for reviewing while you're trying to estimate for a new job. And thank you for watching.